ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। श्रुति स्मृति पुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयम् नमामि भगवत्पादम् शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम् शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यम् केशवं बादरायणम् सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयम् नमामि चिन्मयं देवम् सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। ॐ श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः। हरि ओम। We are trying to study Brahma Sutra with the help of Shankara Bhashya, and we are at the end of Anandamaya Adhikarana and the beginning of Antaradhikarana. Since Brahma Sutra is the study of ultimate reality or nature of Chaitanya or consciousness, and not the applied consciousness, to grapple with the conceptual and the fundamental aspect of reality is not an easy thing, and it puts quite a severe strain on the buddhi to understand the ultimate reality. All we can think about ourselves is to think about the things around us called Jagata with the help of this small instrument, and the only instrument that we have called buddhi. But if we have a cursory look at our buddhi, we realize that there are so many things in this world we are not aware of, we don't have knowledge of them. If at all we have the knowledge of something, we have the most superficial knowledge about them. We know the animals around us, but we do not know what it is like to be an animal. We know a tiger. We know an elephant. But what it is like to be an elephant is definitely miles away from our understanding. We may perhaps extend some logic, tarka, of our own behavioral practices, implant them on the animals or the things around us, and try to understand them. A consistent effort by human intellect to understand through its own impressions or experiences by drawing a parallel with those experiences in this world is called science. That is why a science keeps on exploring the frontiers of things around us to the best possible extent of the cognition which is made possible with the help of indriyas. How much can we understand about the world? As much as the indriyas can help us. Perhaps the buddhi has a lot more power to assemble, to cognize, to perceive. However, the indriyas are the limitations on what you can think of. A cook can cook all kinds of vegetables, but what he will cook depends on what kind of vegetables are given to him to cook. Similarly, the indriyas which bring the perceivable things or perceivable stimuli from outside are the ones which are analyzed by the brain or by the buddhi. The antakarana cannot analyze anything that has not been brought by the buddhi in an ordinary sense. In an extraordinary sense, it is possible to cognize certain things without the help of indriyas. So the path of exploring the jagat or the world of objects through the indriyas by making them refined and more refined and having sendriya anubhava, indriya krut anubhava, the experience through the senses when they are refined further and further with the help of either the instruments made out of this world, such as a binocular or a microscope or a telescope, we come to know, our mind, our buddhi comes to know more and more things about the things around us in the jagat. First, we come to know about their existence. Then we come to know about their functioning. But the fact remains that there are certain things in each and everything that is around us. All the objects carry in them some objectiveness. We may study a cow as an animal, perhaps look at her anatomy by dissecting a cow, perhaps study the physiology by how the curd gets converted into milk. However, go to a cowness is something which we will never get. How it is like to be a cow, we do not know. We cannot know at the moment. My child is close and dear to me, and I try to understand what the child wants. How is he feeling? We do our best to understand our child. However, I cannot be the child. Becoming of something is possible to a certain extent, but being of something is next to impossible for an ordinary soul. I had a wound on my leg in my past, so I know it is painful. So if someone else gets the wound on the leg, I can say that, oh, it is painful. However, it's not the same pain I actually experience the way the person having the wound experiences the pain. What it means is our ability to perceive the world outside in its entirety is severely limited. When our ability to identify ourselves with the objects around us, or for that matter, the entire world, arises in us by sheer virtue of the intellect or the antakarana, then whatever is happening actually in the objects of the world shall be known to me simultaneously with equal intensity as if I am the object. It may sound a bit strange, but it is factually proven by the fact that at the height of the Bhava Samadhi, Ramakrishna Paramahans had a squeezing pain in the heart because someone was walking on the grass. Now, when we walk on the grass, what happens to the grass is not known to us. We can extrapolate from the experiencing that maybe the grass may be feeling not very good. However, precisely the pain that is suffered by the grass can only be known to the grass. A labor pain while delivering a baby is known in its entirety only to the lady who is delivering the baby, not even to the other lady who is sitting besides her and who has already delivered a baby. She may draw a parallel, but it's not the same or identical. Then that puts a fundamental question to us. Do we know the world in its entirety or not? One. Two, is it possible to know this world in its entirety? And when one works on his intellect, when one who works on his antakarana, spatially buddhi, and makes a conscious attempt to truly know the things around him, miraculous experiences start happening. The scope and the ability of the intellect starts expanding. It is like a slit of the window, which was so far letting the sunlight come in a very narrow spectrum, is now the slit is widening and more light is coming, perforating inside. This expansion of understanding or knowing or cognition of the buddhi, of the objects or the world around us or the world itself, initially grows by a trickle and then by leaps and bounds. The only precondition for an intellect or antakarna to have this ability to perceive the world of objects in the right form is severely crippled if the antakarna is already involved into the objects or the multiple objects at once. If the antakarana is involved in object A, followed by B, followed by C, followed by D, in a flitting manner, which in Shastriya Paribhasha we call as Vikshepa, tossing of buddhi, mind, from one to the another at the split second, then the ability of the buddhi to perceive the world or to perceive the object gets severely crippled. And the only way to stop the intellect from hovering between or hankering after one and the other and the third and the fourth object is to become disinterested in the objects outside. When the interest in the object outside is withdrawn, the mind or the intellect or the buddhi, antakarana, is not inclined to chase the objects from one to another. This process of withdrawing the interest from the objects so that the objects do not attract the intellect to come and get stuck to it is called vairagya. And this constant hankering and going out to multiple objects in succession is called vyuthana. When vyuthana is stopped, when the antakarana or buddhi is stopped from moving outside in the outside objects, then the buddhi is available right inside for thinking about the thoughts, from thinking about the objects, thinking about the thought starts. The thoughts are nothing else but the same world that you left outside of the objects, which have been grasped and implanted inside. So the reflection of the world of objects in the physicality outside is reflected inside the mind, and that inner world is what then the mind starts hankering about. Now the mind is not chasing objects to objects in this world, it is chasing the thoughts about the objects in the inside world. That what attracted me to the world outside is now attracting me to the world inside. Because even though the object is not in front of the indriyas and the indriyas have been asked to rest, the experience of the object has been already implanted inside the antakarana, which does not require an indriya to recall. So the same struggle that I had outside is going to be inside also. Outside it was with the objects through the indriyas. Inside it is going to be with the smriti through the buddhi. Smriti Rupa Vishwa, when all indriyas are cut off from the external objects, and when an indriya is cut off from the external object, it is as good as dead. Then panchendriyas come to rest. Shashtendriya is still active. Manaha shasthani indriyani prakrutisthani karshate. Prakrutisthani karshate. The thoughts about the objects then occupy the mind. If for some reason and with effort, I am able to choose a thought or the thought of those gathering in the memory, I pick up one thread, one thought, the thought, and keep thinking about that thought. The thought remains on the screen of the inner mind for a longer time than what an ordinary mind does. Moment this process starts of focusing the antakarana or buddhi on one thought for a longer time, depending upon which thought is there in front of us, the deeper aspects of the thought are slowly uncovered. The deeper and the deeper aspects of the thought are uncovered. The thought could be about an object. The object gets uncovered. This uncovering an object, pill by pill, it's peeling the object layer by layer, gives more and more knowledge about the object. Up to this point is how the best of the human brains in the form of Nobel laureates and scientists go. And they stop there. The yogi keeps on peeling the layers further down, and a point comes when the uncovering of the layer is over. To do this, a tremendous amount of practice is required, abhyasam, so that the ability of the buddhi to withstand the temptations of vacillation are curbed in toto. The buddhi is not allowed to waver, but asked to remain steady on the object or the thought which is in the mind till the longest possible time. As the process deepens and deepens and deepens, all of a sudden, the yogi discovers that there is nothing left to peel off the object. And when there is no layer left to peel off any object, you've gone to the essence of the object. When you go to the essence of an object, you become the object. By becoming the object, you know how and what is precisely that object is. That is knowing the beingness of that object. Now you can say triumphatically that I know that object in its entirety. Till this point of time, a tiger is a tiger for us, because we know about it is the external rupa. By focusing on the tiger in the mind and going layer by layer deep inside the tiger entity, I do become a tiger. It may sound ludicrous or ridiculous, yet it is a fact. And in this process, I did not realize that while I was peeling the object layer by layer to become one with the object, and when I entered inside the object and become the object itself, I lost myself as me as an object. So the one who was trying to peel the layers by layers is actually dissolving himself layer by layer. And then a movement starts of dissolving myself layer by layer, becoming the other object layer by layer. As a result of this, the object becomes completely known to me. And the beauty of the exercise is, if I practice this through abhyasa, through ekagrata, because that only thought is the one which is kept in front of me. Ekam agre asit. No vitthana, no outside going of the mind or the buddhi. Once I master this art of peeling the layers of the object, then any object in the world can be peeled off in the similar manner, and I can become the object. I will be the being in the object. What is the sparrow saying to me? I do not know. I shall come to know. What is the wind doing here? It's just giving me a cool breeze. That's all I know about the wind. I do not know the being of the wind. The consciousness that is there in the wind power is something beyond my comprehension, which now shall not be. Because the pavana being my object in my mind, I have peeled off the pavana to become the pavana. I am Hanuman Upasaka. This process of applying buddhi to a singular object or thought is called upasana. The object is called upasya. The one who is doing this is called upasaka, and the process is called upasana. In an ordinary manner, when I do upasana about any object, I get the best result of that object because I go close to the object. I do with utmost concentration my work in my office of accounting, and my trial balance tallies, and it gives me happiness. Such a complicated accounts got tallied. It got tallied because of ekagrata. You were one with the trial balance and accounting figures. At least for that moment, you did not think of anything else. The result, the accounts got tallied. An inanimate object of the world gave you happiness. Why should a mathematical equation, when solved by a mathematician, or an engineer who is a chemical engineer does a chemical reaction, it comes in the perfect manner, there is no reason why he should feel happy. All right, you solved a damn difficult equation, that's fine. What is there to clap about it? What is there to feel good about it? Why are you feeling happy about it? Because the very concept of focusing on the object, the very concept of focusing on an object itself gives a momentary dissolution of you. You means your ego. And that's why that momentary happiness comes. The happiness of solving a good equation in mathematics doesn't last longer. You do feel happy, but not longer. Now, if we take this concept little further, and we start elevating ourselves little upwards, we will realize that what it is like being a Himalaya mountain. What is the feeling of mightiness the Himalaya has? What is the feeling of vast depth of water the ocean has? The gambhirata of the ocean. It is beyond our comprehension at the moment, but through this act of concentration, it is possible to know what the sea feels like, what the ocean feels like, what the Himalaya feels like, what the earth feels like. Because in entirety, if mind is a single mind, there are billions of minds or billions of antakarnas in this world. Knowing all the antakarnas of all the antakarnadhari upadhis in the world simultaneously is possible. If I am able to become all, I would know all. And what is this knowing becoming larger and larger? Knowledge becoming wider and wider? It is nothing but the consciousness being perceived in higher dimensions. Right now, just because of that speck of consciousness, I'm leading my life as human being, intelligent life as human being, studying, working, walking, talking, earning, thinking about future, past, having trikala sense. Everything is because of consciousness. But this consciousness is delimited to my body. It is limited to an upadhi called Mr. So-and-so. If this upadhi now
Sanjay ji, you are on mute.
when this upadhi is extended to the larger thing, then it is called as huge upadhi. What is a huge upadhi? The sun is a huge upadhi. Sun is also consciousness. I am also consciousness. My upadhi is small. I am delimiting the consciousness. What is upadhi? Upadhi is delimiting the consciousness, limited adjunct. I am delimited to a human body. Sun is limited by a huge body. Whatever is huge, bhavya, is also divya. The divinity expressed in that. And what is divinity? Consciousness, Chaitanya. Larger the expression of Chaitanya, larger is the bhavyata, which is called vibhuti. And the Lord says, Arjuna, from that small fry called an ant to the thing called sun, These are all my vibhutis. Whenever you come across larger than you, it is a vibhuti for you. For the sun, perhaps human is not a vibhuti. Why? It's small. For us, ant is not a vibhuti. It's a small animal. It's a bacteria, we say. For a bacteria, human being is a huge thing, a vibhuti. Why the difference? The difference is in the expression of consciousness through that particular body or upadhi. Larger the window for the flow of light, larger will be the upadhi. If I try to get this upadhi, how do you get the upadhi? You either get the upadhi by the karma and the karma phala. I want to use the intellect in the worst possible manner. I do not require a very high intellect to behave like a dastardly person. What takes more intelligence? What takes more consciousness? Viveka takes more consciousness or aviveka takes more consciousness? Viveka takes more consciousness. But if I am continuously habituated to use the viveka to its minimum, I shall be born into the species where the viveka is required to the minimum. Tiryak yoni. What is difficult, to steal the money or resist the temptation of stealing the money? To resist the temptation of stealing money is difficult because viveka is required. Aviveka of lifting the money wherever it is lying. So those who do aviveki karya, stealing, greed, hankering after somebody else's money, ma grudakasya dhanam, the one who doesn't do this, naturally he is expressing or intending to express his consciousness in an inferior manner. An inferior manner would definitely be befitting a birth which requires inferior upadhi, so you become a tiryak yoni. But a viveki, the one who is utilizing his consciousness for higher purposes, naturally shall get higher upadhi. So he will become human beings, he will become devata, he will become further something. So in other words, it is a continuous and a consistent attempt to inculcate the consciousness and its expression through the instrument that is given to us called antakarana or buddhi. First of all, you should have the buddhi. Second thing is you should have ability to express the consciousness through that buddhi. A stone has the consciousness, but zero ability to express the consciousness. Tad ejati, tad na ejati. Consciousness sometimes expresses itself, sometimes it doesn't. Expression of consciousness, dravibhutata, is an element of evolution of consciousness. Now, when this evolution of consciousness will happen, and when I'm able to concentrate and look at the objects around me through the method of meditation or concentration, I shall come to know about the overall objects of this Jagata. And then the question which today you and me cannot answer, like why the black hole is there, why the stars are there, why there is such a huge galaxy when we are only on the earth, what is the purpose of Mercury, what is the purpose of Jupiter, why there is methane gas there, why there is intergalactic space, why galaxies are colliding with phenomenal speed, why there is so much of sun quake happening on the sun. We have no answer for that as of now. All these answers shall come to know if I become the sun. A very bold statement. If I become the sun, I shall know what it is like being a sun, and I shall understand the sun quake also. Because my knowledge is limited to earthquake because I am on the earth. I am still not the earth. I am the constituent of the earth. If I do become a sun, I shall know what a sun is like. This movement of progression of consciousness from a small fry to a mighty Rishi through the art of concentration and meditation is what opens the vistas of the upper world or the higher world. And when we move from this ordinary consciousness giving us experience of this world, like we see the light, we see a car moving, we see a nice thing being fried, we see a food in front of us, we see a lady walking. All these are our experiences of ordinary level. We still do not have extraordinary experiences. When the consciousness expands, extraordinary experiences also start coming in. And in these extraordinary experiences, as they keep on expanding, proportionate to the expansion of consciousness, what happens is we get different experience than current experience. These higher experiences are called loka. And in these higher experiences, the problems of lower experiences are no more there or there in a very small percentage. Ordinary life is full of sorrow, anxiety, fear. As we go higher up in these lokas, which has rightfully been constructed into Saptaloka. Saptaloka is not a three-dimensional structure that you move from one floor to another floor, no. It is just sitting at one place, your mind through the art of concentration going into different experiential levels. As you go higher up in experiential levels, the issues of lower world are gotten ridden off. The sorrow starts becoming less and less. The happiness starts becoming more and more. In fact, it is not the happiness that becomes more, it is the sorrow that becomes the less, because less of sorrow is happiness. Because sorrow and happiness are dvandva. So the dukkham becomes less and less, sukham becomes more and more, and it becomes sukhavaha avastha. Once you test the nectar of this higher loka, you don't feel like coming in the lower loka. That is why such a yogi again and again tries to run away from the world, goes to the solitude and sits in the meditation. An ordinary person like you and me would ask a question, why the hell he goes to there when he doesn't have anything to eat? Anything can fall on the body, anybody, any animal can bite. There is a darkness, you don't know what is happening. Instead of having a nice sleep on a fabulous bed in the house, why is he going to the jungle and still he's feeling happy about it? That is because the nectar of the higher loka. With this expression of consciousness, you will have, we were talking about the flight of consciousness moving upwards. Now, supposing that I have mastered this art of concentration and I have started moving upwards, then the experiences that I'll be getting at this different higher level of consciousness called loka shall be described by me or shall be uttered by my mouth, and then they shall be noted somewhere. But as I move upwards, how much upward can I go? Because every time I go upward, I become an upadhi of a larger structure. Currently, I have a maryada, I have a rupa, and I have a adhar. There are three criteria that delimits an upadhi. Rupa, I am 5 feet 8 inch tall. This is Maryada for my Rupa. I'm into a human form. This is my Rupa. And where I am in my house. This is my Adhar. My Ashraya is this house. As I start concentrating and moving my consciousness upward, my Rupa doesn't remain like the one I am. Because I start seeing the Rupa of a different type. What Rupa you will be seeing depends upon the object of your concentration. If the sun is the object of your concentration, then you shall see the Rupa of the Surya. Then the Maryada of 5 feet 8 inch will be replaced by millions of light years. The Maryada will expand. And Adhar, I shall not be here in my house. I shall be in the universe. Change in the Rupa, increasing the limit and reducing the Maryada, and becoming larger Adhar is the flight of consciousness. Now the question comes, how many Rupas you will get, how much you can expand Maryada, and how much large you can become. The answer to that is, you shall be endowed with 3 qualities higher and higher and higher and higher and higher till the time when the 3 parameters drop down. When you will become a Rupa, a Maryada, Niradhar, that's when everything will stop. Then what is that which is a Maryada, a Rupa, Sarvadhar? What is it? That is Brahma. That is ultimate reality. That is consciousness in toto. So far you were seeing the expression of consciousness. By increasing the expression of consciousness width, you increase the width so much that you became the consciousness. That is called Brahmi Bhutata. You become the Brahma. And the process is going through increasing the Rupa, Maryada and the Adhar. How do you increase the Rupa, Maryada and Adhar? Starts from a small object. What will happen? You will become that object. So if you have taken a small object like Pancha Mahabhuta, now Pancha Mahabhuta is not a small object, but it is small in comparison to what we are aiming at. If you are doing meditation on wind, Maruta Devata, wind. First of all, it is very difficult to even conceive wind in the mind. That's only possible for the mind which has already cultivated the art of concentration through lower objects. If we have cultivated this particular art of concentrating on Pancha Mahabhuta, you will become Pancha Mahabhuta. So if I am concentrating on Pavana, that is the deity being Marut or Maruti, Hanuman, I shall become Hanuman. As this goes up and up and up, the upadhi for the concentration will keep on changing. Why somebody who has already mastered the art of becoming the Lord of the earth shall any more focus on the earth? He will go beyond that. The one who has got all the siddhis within the world will try to go beyond the world. That is why, for the sake of upasana, Upanishads in the Veda, they talk about different Sopadhik or Saguna Brahma. They talk about Sopadhik or Saguna Brahma. So that is why many a times in Upanishad, those Mahan Rishis who went up to the Brahma Pada describe this ascent of consciousness either through Samvada of Guru Shishya, like Uddalaka, or on by themselves extemporally they declare, because they see that the consciousness is everywhere, nothing else. All these are upadhis, everywhere there is only consciousness. Isha vasyam idam sarvam. It's not a statement coming from an ordinary mortal. It is coming from the anubhuti of Brahmanubhuti. That is the standpoint. So as if an animal controller is pulling the rope by giving the carrot to the animal. When the animal comes forward, another carrot is given, again he pulled up. Similarly, in progress of meditation, the jiva slowly starts achieving the vibhutis, getting introduced to the vibhutis. The Himalayas, the ocean, the Panchamahabhutas, the Tanmatras, the Ahankara Tattva, the Asmita, the Pradhana. It's just going, expanding upwards. As the expansion becomes upwards, next carrot is given. As one achieves that, next one is given, till there are no carrots left. Na nivartate. In Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says, the one who reaches my feet, na nivartate. There is no need now to do anything because all the upadhis are lost. The last upadhi is also lost. Only consciousness remains. That is where the destination is. Because of this, some rishis have given, from the point of view of upasana, narration for the upasya devata, such as the Surya is the Brahma, the Akasha is the Brahma, the Aksha, the being in your eye, is also Brahma. This creates a confusion in the mind. Is Akasha Brahma or is Brahma Akashavat? Is Ananda Brahma or is it Anandavat? The biggest dilemma in Veda, especially in Upanishads and utterances of Upanishads such as Chandogya, Brihadaranyaka, etc., is these are a Rushi Vachanam called Shruti. Shruti is 110% to be taken in verbatim toto as reality. And if it says something like Hiranmaya Garbha Purusha, Hiranmaya Garbha Purusha, if it is talking, is it talking about the ultimate Brahma or it is talking about Upadhi? These questions galore in the mind. Interpretation of Upanishadic utterances is a subject of debate because the exact purport of the word is not easy to understand. That is the reason why Brahma Sutra is written. The very purpose of Brahma Sutra is to precisely pinpoint what is the meaning of Upanishadic utterances, nothing else. No confusion is left about the interpretation of Upanishads. That is why Ananda, Ananda, Anandamaya, 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 it is said, Anandamaya means Brahma or Anandamaya is referring to some upadhi? Because devatas are all Anandamaya. They are in Ananda, devatas. Is devata Brahma? No. When we are referring to Gayatri Mantra or the Ruchas pertaining to Surya or Surya Devata, are we referring Surya or solar orb as Brahma or as Upadhi? Angushtamatra Purusha in Rudasthani, at the heart, a thumb-like Purusha is Brahma, but thumb-like Rupa. But Brahma is Nirup, without Rupa. He is Arupa, and Angushtamatra is Sarupa. It is in the heart, Rudasthani. That means it has got Adhara. Angushtamatra means like the thumb. Thumb itself means Maryada. He is Amaryada. Even though it is like this, still Angushtamatra Purusha means Brahma. How? That is what Brahma Sutra is meant for. So Brahma Sutra is trying to explain all those utterances where in Upanishada it is said that, oh, Brahma is Prana, oh, Brahma is Akasha, oh, Brahma is Surya, oh, Brahma is Antariksha Chakshu, oh, Brahma is Angushtamatra Purusha. Purva Paksha is saying that all these are narrations of Upadhis. Shankaracharya is concretely going to prove that these are not Upadhis. When they refer to these, they are referring to Brahma only. For example, in Samartha Ramdasa's Dasa Bodha scripture, he has written about Akasha and he has written about Brahma Nirupana also. If you read the Akasha Nirupana, Brahma is called as Akash. Is Akasha Brahma or not? Akash is said to be Brahma for the sake of Upasana. Akash is not Brahma, but as an Upasya Daivat. Akasha can be taken as Brahma, can be taken as a Brahma. Why? By taking only that as a Brahma, you transcend the Akasha and then you enter into what is called Nirupadika Brahma. It is not an easy task to reach Nirguna Brahma. You have to go through Saguna Brahma. But while going through Saguna Brahma, this is the Brahma, this is the Brahma, this is the Brahma. That is how you go step by step, so that further no Upadhi is left and you reach the Nirguna Brahma. So that's why we need to understand two important standpoints in Advaita. One is called Paramarthika standpoint, one is called Vyavaharika standpoint, one is transactional standpoint, one is supra-conscious standpoint. What are those standpoints and what is that Antaradhikarana is talking about is the subject of next session. Hari Om. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Sanjay
I can hear you.
Yeah, I couldn't hear the full discourse. I entered halfway through. I am somewhere else, not at home. Yeah, this expansion and contraction of consciousness, we can say practically like the aperture of a camera. You know, when you can reduce it, you can fully open it. Is it something like that? in practical sense.
Right.
Yeah. And one more question. Lord Sri Ram, when Varuna was not appearing upon his request to build that bridge to Lanka, on 1 or 2 days he waited, then he couldn't wait anymore. Then he started, he took his bow and arrow, threatening Varuna. So what is that point? Does it have anything to anything concerned with the consciousness, or what is that point?
All the Puranas are called Arthavad. Puranas are considered Shastriya Grantha because the same philosophy taught in Upanishada is told through Puranas, provided it is understood in the right perspective, leaving the Arthavada aside. A consciousness has ability to take any shape, any act, anything that he or she so desires. So all the things that are normally not possible for limited conscious expression upadhi called human beings are easily possible for that consciousness which has all the upadhis at his disposal. So creating an object, or creating a human being or a demon out of a clay, or endowing anybody powers which are antagonistic to that particular object. For example, applying fire to the water, water to the fire. Kartum, akartum, anyatha kartum, all the Shaktis are there with the consciousness. So Ramayanam is trying to indicate that when Lord Rama, which is the epitome of consciousness, now in the upadhi of Dasharathi Rama, was able to do any kind of adventurous acts unimaginable for the human intellect, simply because of the ability to employ the consciousness through concentration on any upadhi and turning it the way as required by the situation. Hari Om.
Thank you. Thank you. That's clear. Thank you.
Hari Om. Any more questions?
Pradeep ji, I have a question. Can I go ahead?
Yes, yes, please.
Namaskar, Dr. Sir. Now that we are studying consciousness and different levels of consciousness, I just came across and read something which said that in the 84 Lakshya Yoni through which the jiva travels before it actually comes to a human body, the god is also a yoni with a very, very low or unexpressed conscious. This is the first time I read it, so I just wanted to know, is this actually correct? So in the yonis, apart from birds and animals and whatever, are these, because we are studying objects and consciousness within the objects, so is this also a yoni that our jiva goes through?
Every jiva shall go through a unit depending upon how much he has strived to create the consciousness or express the consciousness. If one has tried to stifle the consciousness or reduce the consciousness, he will be born into an inferior yoni. If somebody has tried to increase the consciousness by doing pious acts and sattva guna kruta karya, in that case he'll be born into the higher yonis. It is not necessary that you shall have to go compulsorily through 84 Lakshya yonis, because the flight of consciousness can take from any point to any point. It all depends upon your effort. So Kriyaman is being in your hand. If you are able to do the Kriyaman to the best, it is possible to bypass many of the yonis. And even though your karma has destined you to go through different yonis, if you are able to master the act of dissolving the asmita or the ahankara, then the prarabdha, then the sanchit will be still there, but the one who is supposed to experience the sanchit is no more existing because his ahankara is gone. So in such cases, such sanchit automatically goes to flames. Jnanagni sarva karmani bhasmasat kurute. So that is how it goes. So stone is definitely consciousness with least expression, while animals, birds, this what is called evolutionary cycle is nothing else but higher and higher expression of consciousness. Hari Om.